When Big Ben Bricks closed last year, we lost pretty much the only source of injection molded third-party Lego train wheels. I strongly disliked the texture of 3D printed parts, but if I had no other choice, I figured I would try making my own. BBB has recently reopened, but this ship has already sailed. Last year during Black Friday, I bought a Creality Ender 3. It cost about $200 and came with 2 spools of filament. I thought this seemed like a good enough deal, but I didn't realize I got an older version. The Ender 3 model name is more like MacBook Pro rather than iPhone 12. This doesn't really matter that much. I just wanted to see what it could do. The machine required significant assembly, and I felt like I could have easily built the frame crooked. The joints had a decent amount of play before screwing them down. The belts also needed more tension than I originally thought. I had to tighten one more after some early round prints came out ovally. Once I set up the printer, I test printed some wheels I found online in a variety of orientations and with and without supports and adhesion to understand the pros and cons. Despite my initial distaste of 3D printed parts, the Ender 3 actually finishes top surfaces pretty smoothly, and I started running said wheels on my trains. Both my T1 and my B8 currently have drivers from these initial tests, though I spray painted them since I didn't have black filament yet. I noticed that the tolerances on the pin and axle holes on these publicly available STL files were all over the place. Most of them seemed to come out too small, but a handful ended up too big as well. I suspect that the bottom layers of each print, the ones that adhere to the build plate, can get a little squished, contributing to smaller than designed openings. More on this later. Nonetheless, while I can file small holes bigger, I can't unfile bigger holes smaller, though I also don't have great tools for the latter at the moment. In addition to those box POC wheels on the T1 and B8, I also ran various other prints on various other prototypes, and they generally worked well. At this point, I felt like I needed to roll my own designs to sort out the pin and axle connections, but first I needed to find a good CAD software. A friend had recommended Tinkercad, a free web app, and I had made a simple thing in it before, but I thought the form-based workflow made it difficult to develop more complex shapes. I wanted a more traditional CAD software based on extruding and intruding sketches, which I also consider a more rigorous process. Eventually, I found FreeCAD, which isn't a web app, but is still free. There was some learning curve to find all the right buttons, but all parametric CAD software should fundamentally be the same. I made some simple bricks based on the exact dimensions of Lego bricks to practice on the software and to understand how nominal dimensions turned out in print. The studs and tubes didn't fit at all, partly thanks to the squishing problem I described earlier, but the pin and axle holes did all right. That being said, now I could adjust the nominal dimensions in my model to compensate for undesired artifacts from the printing process. Once I iterated into some pin and axle holes that fit reasonably well, I don't care about the studs and tubes for now, I tried my hand at an actual wheel. I attempted a very basic number 5 wheel, but not without some experimentation. I never understood why Lego's equivalent wheel had such a strange width when a half stud seemed more logical. Well, I finally found out that a half stud wheel doesn't have enough hub to stay on the tracks. In L-gauge track, the rails are only about a plate wide and positioned at the center of the 2nd and 7th stud position. A centered 5-length axle only overlaps the railhead by half a plate, and subsequently, a half stud wide wheel derails very easily. Even if I pushed out the flanges to further restrict lateral movement, I would only have around 1 LU of hub left. I think Big Ben Bricks actually had the right idea. They implemented a half stud wide hub such that their wheels could fit on a 5-length axle, but they pushed the running surfaces out such that more hub overlapped the railhead. I decided to stick to this paradigm for the width, but then I discovered another gotcha. So real train wheels mostly ride on their hubs, but they sometimes ride on their flanges when navigating switch frogs or other special geometries. This also applies to Lego train wheels, but the flanges have to be huge to touch the frog floors. I had initially tried making more realistic sized flanges, but these would drop into every track break, and I had to change to normal sized flanges. I tried some other aesthetic odds and ends, like dishing the hub face, but that specifically didn't print well, and that foreshadows the next challenge, printing consistency. Like on some BBB wheels, I put another small hub on the back of my number 5 so the whole side doesn't scrape on the surface behind it. If I print these face up, almost the entire base needs support, and by design, the filament doesn't stick well to that support. It subsequently wants to clothesline along the edge of the flange, resulting in an unacceptably warped part. On the flip side, literally, printing face down gives a much cleaner flange despite the overhang, but now the center of the front needs support and I can't give it a smooth finish. Nonetheless, I ultimately decided that function was more important than aesthetics, especially since this size of wheels are usually covered by frames, etc. We'll get back to the 5s, but now let's make a number 7 wheel. This time I used the overall dimensions of existing wheels, but I added a groove for a traction band. I made some simple spokes and a basic counterweight, and got to something I liked in just a few iterations. The front of this design has raised features instead of a raised rim, more realistic than vice versa, and leaves the rest of the face at the pin inset level. Most tests of my number 7s worked, but like the 5s, they didn't print consistently due to the same back support issue. I would have to print these face down as well, but then I also wanted to redesign them. I thought the inset front would look too ugly printed on supports. I also noticed another gotcha. Big Ben Bricks number 7s have a non-standard crank radius, apparently 3 LU instead of 1 stud. I think they did this to prevent attached connecting rods from touching the railhead. I really didn't like this non-standard dimension, but I ultimately relented and made my downward printed design with a flat front and short cranks. I had to have an inset for the pin hole, but I extended it around the axle hole to stop both holes from getting squished on the build plate. I printed a bunch of both sizes to ensure a consistent print quality, but after all that, how well do they perform? I've actually been testing both wheels for a while, and the keen observer might have noticed that I did not use BBB wheels at the Fresno train show in the CRBL7 video. That engine ran on my latest number 7s for the entire show without much issue, even on the fairly bumpy track. Both flat cars have been running various versions of my number 5s for even longer, also with pretty much no issue. The printed wheels do make slightly more noise than perfectly round wheels, but this doesn't affect the actual running characteristics. As far as traction goes, I did a quick test on plastic track with a chassis similar to the one used in Do Tires Help or Hurt? 4 Big Ben Bricks wheels with no traction bands pulled about 50 grams, similar to what official number 9s managed before. 4 3D printed wheels with no traction bands pulled about half that, probably worse due to the slightly rougher hub surfaces. 4 3D printed wheels with traction bands pulled close to 130 grams. This is again comparable to what official number 9s with traction bands managed before. The traction bands themselves are fairly generic 1mm thick by 22mm diameter O-rings. Finally, I tried to test printing and running rigorously because I want to sell the wheels on our Etsy store. The links are in the video description. I can at least fill the unfulfilled market for number 7s with traction bands, and at least for now, I can undercut the major vendors by a bit as well. I do have to sell in sets though. It's not worth my time to sell individual wheels, and it's not worth your money to ship individual wheels either. This whole thing is a bit of an experiment, so please feel free to leave comments and questions. On that note, this is the end of the video. Please consider subscribing if you like what we do, and have a nice day.